Welcome to Hey Sister. This is episode 39, Who to Thunk. Hey sister.
Hey sister.
Join me, Courtney Lewis,
And me, Carly Ferguson,
in our conversational podcast about everyday situations.
You can count on us to tell it to you straight with our own sisterly spin.
Consider this a phone call with your own Southern sisters as we discuss with you personal accountability, healthy relationships, managing responsibilities, and contributing to society.
Each episode will consist of straight talk and a call to action.
Your sisters are calling.
Thanks for answering.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hey Sister. Carly and I are glad y'all are joining us today. I'm Courtney and I'm so glad you're here for this fun episode about things that Carly and I love that we never knew we would. So we're calling it Who to Thunk because we grew up in the South and it is common to say funny phrases like that, even though I would normally say Who to Thunk, but Carly and I were previously just talking about how she would never say Who'da and she say Who woulda thunk. There is some debate as to the proper way to say Who to Thunk.
I'm so much more refined.
That's it. As a recap, today's episode is part of our Summer Hot Topic series, in which we've dived into topics that Carly and I feel passionately about for this summer. The last couple of weeks, we've had some great responses about the content that we've had. So go back and check out episode 37, Freedom to Comment, if you want to hear an episode about finding that perfect sweet spot for commenting when you come across a post that you disagree with on Facebook or Instagram. We talk about how to comment in love and yet still disagree. And then last week in episode 38, Carly and I had a lot of fun in our Textiquette episode, going down a rabbit hole about the ... which is known as the ellipses. So if you want to go find out our opinions on sending a text message with ellipses in it, go check that out and you'll think that we are crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
Only a couple more weeks of our Hot Topics left before our back to school series. Speaking of next month's theme, we announce our themes on Instagram and Facebook so you can see our sneak peeks into the next month or go back and check the graphics for past months in our themes folder on Instagram. Check the show notes for links to our social media accounts, as well as any other references we make or resources or quotes we share in today's episode.
Speaking of today's episode, let's just jump right into today's topic, things that we didn't know we'd love. Carly, I want to hear the 3 things that you love that you never knew you woulda.
I feel like there should be like a drum roll or something, but this might be a little anticlimactic, to be quite honest. But when I was growing up in our home, if we went out to eat, it was at like Jason's Deli, or we did go to some Mexican food places. We had
Cece's Pizza.
Yeah. And we really never ventured much into Asian cuisine. Just our family never did that. And I remembered having friends like my friend Lindsay, whose dad had served a church mission in Thailand, and how they'd have Thai food. And I just thought that is so crazy. I would never think to have Thai food. I have no idea what that's like. And then getting out of the house, going and serving a mission and having other types of food, it was still meat and potatoes type food. And I have the palate of a 5-year-old, basically, like chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, grilled cheese, anything with cheese makes me really happy. So when my husband introduced me to Thai food and then starting other Asian cuisines, it surprised myself how much I liked it. I still don't do as spicy as he does by any means. He always tries to go as spicy as he can. But for myself, it's been fun to try food from India and dim sum and Vietnamese food, Korean. Like there's just such a wide variety of food that I had been intimidated by. It's intimidating to use chopsticks and feel like an idiot. Like we went to this cool Japanese restaurant. It's called Hokkaido. They only gave us chopsticks to eat with. And it's like, okay, here we go. People are going to think I am so stupid as I make it through my meal. But it was really fun and it was a little messy. It was totally worth the experience and the food was delicious.
You did it?
Yeah, I did it.
I'm proud of you.
2 hours later. No, I'm just kidding. It was cool to learn about those different techniques and cuisines and the different spices that are used for each. and going to a new place, traveling to somewhere, you can try food that's there. And a lot of times there are stores and things that are randomly put into a city that are very authentic to the country of origin that they're named after or something that you can go and try that aren't maybe the Americanized food chains that you could also go to. Just be on the lookout for great finds. I remember people saying, oh, this is the best Thai place to go to, and trying that out, but not being afraid to go try someplace new too. But yeah, that was something that surprised myself that I would be willing to do. Like, we had octopus there in the appetizers.
Good for you.
I tried it and it tasted really yummy, but like I tried not to think too much about it.
Who'da thunk? Carley eating octopus.
Exactly. That's my first thing. The second thing, and this one might surprise my own family, is that growing up, we'd be on the church pew or something, and my mom would pass down the lipstick to me because I just would refuse to put on lipstick. And she just saw it as a great way to pop your face, right? And then later on, Courtney started Pop Those Lips.
Yes, I started a business years ago called Pop Those Lips. I do love popping my lips, but keep going.
Anyways, because of that, she would show it to people and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I put it on, and I guess it's a asterisk. Like, I have become a fan of lipstick asterisk SeneGence products because that's all I can use because it stays on. I don't have to worry about it. It's like as low maintenance as possible, but it is like low maintenance, high commitment. I have to be strategic about when I put it on. Like, I can't just put it on in the car, though I try as we drive. My husband will like hit a bump and I'm like, why'd you do that?
I have to say too, I love that you bring that up about passing the lipstick down the pew at church. A couple things that come to mind. One is Mom pretty much wore a lot of workout clothes during the week and her work clothes when she worked doing faux finishes in people's houses. So she was oftentimes dressed in clothes that had paint on them or an apron. She didn't really get too gussied up during the week, but Sunday would come and Mom always dressed her finest to go to church. Sunday best is something Mom took very seriously, and she passed that on to us. And then if she's sitting there
pass that down.
Yeah, pass that down. How she's going to pass it down to us. Because when we're sitting there, she's like, you're coming to church. And why not put on lipstick? Why not? You're here. It's fun. And also in Texas, there was kind of that culture of everybody has blonde, big hair and red lips. That is one of those funny things that every time I've moved away from Texas, people would be like, oh, you're a Texan. Because for a long time, I did have blonde hair and red lips. And then now I'm not. I'm brunette now. But it was just kind of funny because that was like people's understanding of Texas. And Mom lived true to that in a lot of ways.
That is really funny. But what I was saying before about putting on lipstick in the car brings up the next point, something that I didn't know I'd like, but who'da thunk, I totally do. Minivans. Okay. I am a minivan fan. And growing up, you'd see the minivan moms or the soccer moms. And not that I had anything against them or anything like that. I just didn't envision myself in maybe that same role. And how quickly the tables turned where we were coming back from Arizona. We had to drive from Arizona a couple of years ago when the quarantine shutdown happened and our flights were canceled. And thankfully we had preemptively booked a car to get back to Texas. Before the flights canceled, we just thought, oh, this might go this way. And they gave us a van and we were on the drive back. It was just so peaceful. It was so much better. It just felt more spacious. There were so many good features. So we were like sold on getting a van. And then we lucked out on finding a great blue van in Austin and have had that van since. And I love that the doors just are automatic and they open so my kids don't just go into other cars, and I have a rear backup camera. I mean, certain things that other cars definitely have, but also there's this like swagger wagon feeling, and maybe other cars feel the same way when you like see the matching vehicle to yours on the road, that you feel like a kinship with them. Do you feel like that?
I do feel like that, but you think a minivan is swag.
Yeah. No, there was at one point an advertisement. I remember that it was like the swagger wagon and it was a joke. But yeah, you just lean into it. I am a mom leaning into the minivan mom lifestyle, loving it. wearing the messy bun, driving with my big sunglasses on, a cup of caffeine in my hand. I don't know. I just was like, this, it feels right. And then I see somebody else, like I saw another blue van actually like right in front of me leaving the car wash today. And there was this moment of, I want to be friends. I don't know. I feel like we already have something in common, which is a pretty like blaring, obvious thing that we have kids and that we care about the function of the vehicle. I don't know. Or like we've let go of visions of like, it just sounds kind of silly as I say it, but
you love it.
I love it.
Okay. So I have to admit, I recently drove a minivan and it turns out I really did love it, which is surprising me because I've been a Toyota Sequoia person for 7 years and have loved our Toyota Sequoias. We've even gone through 2. We had an old one and then we had our new one that I love. But the other day we had to drive a minivan because my car was in the shop. And I have always been opposed to minivans because of an experience that I had when I was 18. I was nannying for a family. And the thing that I love about the minivan when we test drove it is what I hated about it as an 18-year-old, which is that the doors open and close at the push of a button. My kids love that because now as a mother, I'm telling my kids, don't open the doors. I will open the doors for you because I don't want our car door swinging open and hitting a car in a parking lot.
Tell the sisters what happened, Courtney. This is so funny.
I'm avoiding it.
No, tell the story. It's so funny.
It was traumatizing. So when I was 18, I was nannying for a family. And during the experience, I had to pick up their kids from preschool. And so I drove to the preschool driving this minivan because at the time I drove a Slug Bug Beetle.
Right.
And
you're not like comfortable with
this is a big car.
All the buttons.
Yes. And I love the family that I nannied for, but the mom did not give me a overview of how to drive a minivan. And I'd only ever driven our mom's, her SUV. So I'm driving this minivan and I get to the preschool and the lady is loading the kids into the car and gets one of the kids in. And I realize there's a button and I push it. I don't know why I pushed it, but it closed the door. And so this lady who is like one of the teachers for the preschool is trying to buckle a kid in and the door is just squeezing her and she is yelling at me, stop closing the door. And the door is just going bang, 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 and just closing her and just pinching her. And it's not stopping. There wasn't a sensor. You know, when you close a garage door, the garage door will detect if something's in the way and it'll go back up.
Right.
The door wasn't doing that.
I don't know why they haven't figured that out on me.
Oh, is it still that way?
It can be, yeah. When it's on the backswing, that's what it feels like. If my kid is standing, I have to like move them with as much speed as I can to get them out of the way of this door coming. I haven't really tested it. They haven't been struck yet, so that's good. But
well, this lady was struck and then it just held and it felt like it lasted for 5 minutes.
Well, I just imagine you in a tizzy, like trying to like get it to stop.
Well, I think I just kept pushing the button and I still don't know what that dashboard looked like. It was so many buttons. And I just was like, why did I push the close button while she was buckling the kid in?
That's one of those I love Lucy moments. Okay. Like where you're like, vitamin to Benjamin.
No, it was terrible. She's just yelling at me, stop closing the door. And I'm going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I just felt so inept. And so I swore I would never drive a minivan. Turns out I did love driving it for a few days while my car was in the shop. We ended up determining that a minivan was not for us because of a few other reasons. That's
okay, Court. It's all good. You love your car and you're a minivan mom at heart. I think you get along well.
All my friends are minivan moms. It was funny. The day that I test drove it, I pulled up to the park and they were all like, new ride.
Yeah. See, they were like, are you in the fan club? The van fan club? Mm-hmm.
Swagger wagon club? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Honestly, we're just so blessed to have cars to be able to drive our kids around. And
it's true.
So every vehicle you can love, and especially if you take care of it, I think that's the first step in loving your thing is that maintenance. When I got this van, my first priority was like, okay, I'm going to get car washes every week and keep it up. Still so hard, but it's been great for us. And if any of you love your minivan, let's wave to each other on the road. So Courtney, I'd really like to hear your who to thunk moments because I feel like you're a very good person about like knowing what you like and what you don't. So I'd love to hear what you thought you didn't like and then liked.
Okay, first things first. It's interesting you talked about different cuisines. Our family was very good about certain places that we went out to eat. I think in part that's because of mom's type 1 diabetes, that she wanted to eat a lot of healthy roughage, the Jason's Deli, build your own salad bar, and knowing what was in her food. She really liked that. So our family did a lot of that. And we really didn't do fast food a lot.
On road trips.
On road trips. So that was, I mean, really, that was the exception. Or when I was little, I remember doing Happy Meals on Wednesdays because they were the dollar Happy Meals. And so I remember that before I was like 10. Not really much after I was 10. We didn't really do McDonald's ever for dinner or like a lunch day or anything. But with my own kids now, I have been surprised at a fast food restaurant that I like that I thought was overpriced and ridiculous when I was a teenager and early newlywed. And that is Chick-fil-A. I never thought I would like Chick-fil-A because it was so expensive. You think it's a fast food restaurant because it's like got the play place, a drive-through. It looks like it's a fast food restaurant, but it's not. It's a mother's dream experience is what I've learned. So with my kids, I will pay whatever the price is for a kid's meal because they will say with pleasure as they serve it to me. And I am in love with Chick-fil-A. I love their customer service. The fact that we can order food and it does taste really good. I still don't know that the price of the food is worth the cost of the food, but the experience there is worth the cost that I pay. And especially if the Chick-fil-A play place is open. Our local one, the play place is open. So I'm still willing to pay it. When the Chick-fil-A play place is not open, I'm less happy to pay that price of the food, if I'm being quite honest. But the experience of having their staff walk by and say, would you like me to refresh your beverage? I'm like, oh, you mean a refill? You want to refresh my beverage? Sure. Thank you, kind sir.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. I just love how kind they are. And the fact that you can also mobile order from the table. They have so many cool things with their app now that you can scan the number on the table and they bring it right to you. So I can go and they have those cute little peel and stick placemats for the kids. So I can buy kids meals or I can buy the giant number of chicken nuggets for the kids and I can divide it and just place them straight onto the placemats. It's okay if I don't even buy kids meals for each individual kid. So we get away with that a lot of times too, because I'm like, here, everybody gets 4 chicken nuggets from the 12 count or however many come in the adult size.
My kids take that as a challenge and rip it off immediately.
Oh,
yeah, but they're cute.
Well, I do love Chick-fil-A. And second thing I got to say, club pickup. Now, what I'm talking about there is also called grocery pickup or grocery delivery, any of those services. I used to think I loved shopping, going into the store. I thought it was an experience that was part of my going out. Growing up, I loved going shopping with my mom. Going to Sam's Club especially was one of my favorite things because it might be sample day and you might get there at the time when they're doing the samples in Sam's Club. And we would love to go in and get a pretzel at the club. And there was just so many awesome elements to Sam's Club and going inside. And I just loved shopping and walking around. It was such an experience as a kid that I wanted to recreate for my children. And I've since decided that apparently I don't like shopping with children. Maybe it's just because of the age of my kids, but I've learned that I don't like it. And I remember when grocery pickup started getting popular about 4 to 5 years ago. I mean, it had been invented before that, but that's when it first started to get popular. I had a few more friends doing it. People posting about it on social media was 4 to 5 years ago.
Really, 4 to 5? I thought it was sooner than that.
No. For me, 4 to 5 years ago, because before that I lived in a small town in Oklahoma and they were offering pickup, but it was only if you went into the store. They didn't bring it out to your car. And I had 2 kids. So if I even had to go in to pick up the order, it wasn't worth it for me because I still had 2 2-year-olds when I lived in Oklahoma.
I feel like curbside pickup is one of those like silver linings of the pandemic.
Right.
Because I feel like now most places offer curbside and I love that.
It is amazing. And the fact that Sam's Club offers that right now, they do the club pickup and you park in the parking spot and they bring it out to you. And Costco's not doing that. So as long as Sam's Club continues doing that, they'll keep my business over Costco because I will not go into a Costco with my kids. And I remember when my kids' preschool teacher asked me 4 years ago when we moved to Arizona, I think I did some post online about a stressful shopping trip. And she said, you've got to do grocery pickup. And I said, thank you for suggesting that, but I actually really love shopping. And about 6 months later, I had to eat my words because I love and will never turn away from grocery pickup or club pickup now. It is the most time-saving experience of my life to order from my phone. And it's also amazing too. I know last week we talked a little bit about iPhones and the iWatch in our Textiquette episode. I love that I can tell my watch to add bananas to my shopping list and I can speak into it, add a reminder for this. And then I can check out my reminders when I'm doing my shopping at night while I wait for my kids to fall asleep and I'm sitting in the hall because my kids go, "Are you still there, Mom?" Because I haven't figured out how to put my kids to bed and they're 7 years old. It's kind of embarrassing, but that's when I do my grocery shopping. I sit in the hall, wait for 15 minutes, take care of my grocery shopping so that I can do one pickup order at Sam's Club a week. And then I do my other local groceries. And there's a few grocery stores in town that I could do grocery pickup for, like smaller stores like Target or Walmart or Fry's, which is our local Kroger. So there's a lot of those kinds of stores that you can do your little shopping at, but I do love to go to Sam's for my big bulk stuff. Now, my third thing I'm going to say is shocking, and I want my mom to cover her ears before I say this, but I have really loved living outside of Texas. Did not know I was going to love that. I have been surprised that I have loved living outside of Texas. Growing up, and even still, I'm a mama's girl, but I always thought that I needed to live in the same county as my parents. I just thought that's where I needed to be. I'm the oldest child in our family, and I just feel like family needs to stay close together. And that's how I pictured my life going. And when I told my husband, when I was dating him, we would move back to Texas, that was my number one priority. I have since laughed because yes, we went to Texas for his graduate program, but we lived there for 18 months and it was 4.5 hours for my family. And Texas is huge. So you can live in Texas and you still don't see your family very often. Since then, we've continued to live in 3 different states. And I have been very surprised that within each state, I have loved the place that we've lived. And it takes about 6 months, I've decided, if you don't have kids, to fall in love with a place or to make it your home. And with kids, it takes about a year. It takes a while to really feel at home where you're living and to make that place feel like home. But I will say Arizona specifically was one place that when my husband told me that he had a job offer in Arizona, I said, "Oh, well, we're not moving there. I'm not going to ever move to Arizona. Are you kidding me? I grew up in Texas and it was hot enough in Texas. Arizona is 15 degrees hotter than Texas. And that's not closer to my family. That's farther than where we currently live. So no, we're not moving there." 2 months later, we were living in Arizona and I love it. I'm so surprised that I love it. And the desert is someplace that I remember when we moved here, I thought it was so ugly, but now I see the beauty in the desert. And I think that is a good analogy for life. Things that you don't see as beautiful actually end up winning your heart if you make it your home. And there's that quote, "Bloom where you're planted." And I think that's true in our lives, that you might have experiences in your family of origin. So you think that you're closed off to something, or you can't believe that other people think a certain way or do a certain thing. But in reality, you may end up loving that thing if you open your eyes and try something new. And I'm not saying to put your values aside or anything like that. I'm just saying open your experiences up.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I love that, because if we try something, there's no harm in trying it out if it's a good thing. And we might be surprised, who'd have thunk, that we'd really like it and actually prefer it. It's interesting. I tried for the last 4 years. I had been growing my hair out, and not exactly intentionally, just by default of not making hair appointments.
How old is your oldest child?
He's 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's ironic.
The timing lines up. I did. Okay. And this is probably also part of it. When I had Rush, soon after that, I went and spur of the moment, went with Mom actually, and got haircuts together. And she got this super cute short cut. And I was like, I'm doing bangs. And I can now say bangs, they just don't work with me in my face, or I don't know how to take care of them. There's a lot to that and keeping them out of my face. So I had that experience, and then it shocked me into not wanting to do anything too radical for a while, which before that I was more inclined to do radical moves and have some purple hair or something. And
I remember that phase of your purple hair. Don't care.
Yeah. And so I just hadn't done anything with it, and I had long hair, which I'd always wanted in high school. That was my goal, but I was too impatient to not cut my hair. And then I just started thinking my hair couldn't grow long. And so it was long enough, but I didn't know what to do with it. And I just struggled to feel myself. When I got it cut, just the first 2 cuts, because they were in 2 little ponytails so I could donate it. And they cut those first 2 ponytails off, and it was just like a blunt chop. And I was like, I could walk out and be so happy just like this. I don't even care. I feel like myself again. So there's a lot to like trying something, and it may not really be your jam. For me, I really like having short hair. I feel more myself with it. And maybe it was just the right time and going through that process of having long hair for a while to having a fresh look and change that I needed. But now when other people are like, oh, like I've been wanting to do that, I'm like, don't be scared, but it's been great for me so far. It does do that flip out on the end saying if I don't curl it, but
it's super cute.
I'm loving it.
I love your ability to try something new by having long hair, but also it's okay to realize, tried it, don't actually love it. And now we're back to something that I did feel comfortable with. And I tried something else to come back to what I love, but at least I feel confident in that. Yeah. I like that. But let's save the hair conversation because I love this. And I think that's good fodder for fire for next week's episode, for an episode all about hair, because Carly had her hair cutting experience and she'll dive into talking a little bit more about that. And we can talk about hair all over our body. I'm excited to talk about my experience trying to rid my body of hair with a new IPL intense pulse light is what it's called. So we'll talk a little bit about that stuff next week. But before we talk about next week's episode, we need a call to action this week.
Oh yeah. So for our call to action this week, we had so much fun riffing off each other on the things we thought we wouldn't like, but actually did. That for the call to action, we'd love for you to, in a conversation with someone else, ask them what they thought they would not like. And then turns out, who would have thunk that they did like? That's our call to action, sisters, this week. So go out, talk to somebody, have a good conversation about those things that who'd have thunk that they'd like.
I love that call to action too, because that goes along with the content that we had a few weeks ago, another hot topic series for fast friends in episode 35, where we talk about striking up a conversation. So I love that. That's another great question to ask people when you're at a park and trying to make a friend, or talking to somebody that you've just been recently introduced to and trying to find some ground to talk about. So there's a great conversation starter for you.
And it's positive. So if you feel like a conversation's maybe getting a little negative of, it's just been so hard being a mom or something, you can even be like, well, what's one thing that you've tried recently that you actually did like?
I like that. Thanks for sharing that perspective too. Sisters, don't forget to join our conversation on social media this week. Check out our roll call post where we'd love to hear how this call to action is going for you. We'd love to connect with y'all on Instagram at the Hey Sister Podcast, or on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/Hey Sister Podcast. We also encourage y'all, as always, to give us a 5-star review if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts. But in general, thank you for listening to us on whatever platform you're joining us from today. We love y'all, sisters. We do consider you part of our sisterhood. So have a wonderful week, and we will talk to y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do we want to call this things I didn't know I'd love but do, or things I didn't know I'd love? ...
No, ... Who would have thunk?
Who'da thunk?
Who would have thunk?
Who'da thunk?
Who'da thunk or who woulda thunk? Because that's how I would say it's who woulda thunk.
You wouldn't say who'da thunk?
No, I wouldn't say who'da thunk.
I say who'da thunk all the time.
I say who woulda thunk. I'm so much more.
No, I say who'da thunk.
I would say who woulda.
Who woulda? How do you spell woulda?
How do you spell who'da? Are we getting this technical? Who'da. Who'da.
But would woulda be WOULDDA? Who woulda?
No, you wouldn't say woulda.
Well, that's how you spell wood.